Piracy is experiencing a strong resurgence, though not the kind involving ships and treasure. We're talking about digital video piracy. Remember when streaming was hailed as the solution that would finally put an end to piracy? Yeah, that didn't quite pan out. And it's easy to see why. Subscription prices are ballooning, shows are being yanked from streaming libraries, and exclusive content is fragmented across a dozen or more services. Streaming, which was supposed to make our lives easier, has evolved into a frustrating mess that resembles cable TV all over again. Expensive, confusing, and inconvenient. Want to watch Severance? That means subscribing to Apple TV Plus. Craving a rewatch of The Office? It used to be on Netflix, but now you'll need Peacock. Want to follow your favorite sports? Good luck. One game is on DAZN, another on Fubo, and who knows where the rest are. These days, just tracking down where a movie or show is available feels like a full-time job. You'll probably need Google, maybe a VPN, and a credit card ready to pay for a new service you didn't know existed. Somehow, despite being surrounded by more entertainment than ever, finding and affording what we actually want to watch has become more difficult than ever before. So it's no surprise that piracy, free, simple, and universal, is once again becoming the easiest option. And it didn't have to be this way. The music industry already went through this transformation and came out the other side better for it. Think about how ridiculous it would be if you could only stream Kendrick Lamar on Spotify while Drake was locked to Apple Music. Although, knowing their rivalry, maybe they'd be into that. Back in the early 2000s, platforms like Napster and LimeWire had the music business in a panic. But piracy wasn't just popular because it was free. It was better. Instead of buying an overpriced CD for a single song, you could download exactly what you wanted instantly. The industry eventually adapted. In 2003, Apple introduced the iTunes Music Store, letting users buy digital songs for 99 cents. That was a big step forward for the average user, making music more accessible and affordable while reshaping how we discovered new artists. Still, for the pirates, it didn't offer anything new. The real turning point came in 2008 when Spotify launched. Suddenly, there was a legitimate service that gave you what you wanted, endless streaming for a low monthly fee. It wasn't just affordable, it was convenient. And just like that, piracy took a massive hit. It became obvious. The only way to beat piracy is to offer a better, more convenient alternative. While the music industry was modernizing, video piracy was becoming more accessible through the internet. Yet the entertainment industry's response was lackluster. They put out vague threats and cheesy public service announcements, like the now infamous "you wouldn't download a car" campaign. Ironically, that one just became a meme. If downloading a car were possible, honestly, a lot of us probably would. The argument that piracy steals profits fell flat. People argued they weren't going to buy that content in the first place, so no money was truly lost. When Netflix shifted from mailing DVDs to streaming content online, it felt like the video industry had finally found its Spotify moment. For just a few bucks a month, you could access a huge library of high-quality content. No pop-ups, no shady torrent sites, no hassle. Piracy didn't vanish, but With so much content available legally, it often felt unnecessary. That era was the golden age of streaming, when Netflix seemed like a magical one-stop shop for all your favorite movies and shows. Then came the content arms race. As more companies entered the market, Disney, Hulu, Peacock, and others, everything changed. Suddenly, the shows and films you loved weren't all in one place. Instead of consolidating like Spotify and Apple Music, which offer near-identical libraries, the video streaming world fractured. Content became exclusive to individual platforms, and the dream of universal access died. Streaming services also began deleting or rotating content with little to no warning. Warner Bros. Discovery removed Westworld and other HBO titles just to avoid paying residuals. Disney Plus purged original films and series. Netflix constantly changes its library, making it unreliable for long-term access. Even purchases aren't safe. Amazon has removed films people actually paid for. So let's get this straight. You pay for a service, get hooked on a show, and then one day it's gone. If you want to watch it again, your best bet might be piracy. This is exactly how you lose consumer trust. What began as a battle between streaming giants for content supremacy has become mired in licensing nightmares and regional restrictions. Why can US Disney Plus users watch The Bear while Australians can't? These inconsistencies are part of the reason streaming platforms have pivoted to producing original content. Now, services aren't just distributors, they're full-blown studios. Netflix's originals like Squid Game are supposed to be globally available, forever. But this shift also means your subscription is now a gamble on one studio's output rather than access to the best of everything. Netflix is reportedly planning to spend a staggering $18 billion on content in 2025, mostly on originals, including the long-awaited final season of Stranger Things. Of course, delays have aged the cast out of their teen roles, but we're still watching. Eventually, though, this approach hits a ceiling. There's a limit to what consumers are willing to pay, especially when not everything is a hit. The biggest shows are still scattered across multiple platforms, and it's adding up fast. According to DeLuise, the average American now pays for 4 different streaming services, totaling around $69 per month. That's wild and unsustainable. Over half of Gen Z and millennials canceled at least one service in the past 6 months. As costs keep climbing, people are starting to treat streaming platforms like sports teams, sticking with one and hoping it delivers good content. Sure, you could cancel Netflix after binging Inventing Anna and then subscribe to Apple TV Plus for Ted Lasso. But are you really going to swap platforms every month? That's exhausting. If you can't afford both, you're left with 2 choices: pirate the show or skip it entirely. Neither is ideal, and neither serves the consumer well. What's worse is that streaming companies now have total control over content creation and distribution. They decide what gets made, how much is spent, and whether it even reaches the audience. Warner Bros. Famously axed the nearly finished Batgirl movie to claim a tax write-off. Remember those hilarious R-rated comedies from the 2000s? They're gone. Not because people stopped loving them, but because streamers aren't greenlighting them anymore. It's a symptom of the constant competition and Wall Street pressure to grow endlessly. Netflix, once the poster child for consumer-friendly streaming, has reversed course. They once encouraged password sharing, tweeting, "Love is sharing a password" in 2017. But by 2023, they started cracking down hard. Suddenly, sharing meant paying more or risking lockout. Other platforms followed suit. This wasn't about fairness. It was about squeezing subscribers for more revenue. And then there's Amazon. Jeff Bezos, a literal space tourist, began forcing ads on Prime Video users despite their paid subscriptions. Naturally, others followed, offering ad-supported tiers for the same price you were already paying. This kind of corporate greed is what's pushing users back toward piracy. And let's be honest, pirate sites don't exactly hide what they are. Names like moviepirate.com and stolenmovies.fre tell the whole story. Netflix is well aware of the threat. In its 2024 annual review, the company mentions piracy multiple times. When Netflix first launched, pirating required torrents, technical know-how, and some patience. Now, pirate sites offer sleek, on-demand streaming interfaces that rival Netflix's own, but with way more content and no subscription fees. It's understandable why Netflix is worried. They're losing billions, but let's not pretend they're struggling. 2024 was one of their best years ever. Despite all the price hikes, ad insertions, and account restrictions, people are sticking around. Subscriptions are sticky. Once you're in, you tend to stay. If piracy were truly a major threat, Netflix would be far more aggressive in trying to shut it down. But even if they did, news sites would pop up immediately. If the streaming industry won't consolidate, then Netflix's best bet is to keep making top-tier content at a price people are willing to pay. So far, it seems to be working, for them at least. Other platforms may not be so lucky. Ideally, we shouldn't need to pirate content. Making shows and movies costs money, and creators deserve to be compensated. But in today's chaotic streaming landscape, even with so much content out there, having to juggle multiple subscriptions just to stay current is impractical. Piracy isn't disappearing. It's accelerating as platforms get greedier and more fragmented. The truth is, most people don't pirate because they want to steal. They pirate because they feel forced to by ridiculous prices, limited access, or disappearing content. And right now, streaming services are offering all three. If these companies genuinely want to stop piracy, they should stop blaming users and start fixing the broken system they created. Until then, well, it's a pirate's life for me. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you.